province of Gauteng accounts only 1.4% of South Africa's land area, making it a tiny province. Yet Gauteng punches way above its weight, contributing around 35% to the national economy and some 7% to the GDP of the entire African continent. I had an interesting conversation with David Makhura, the Premier of Gauteng, about its developments. It's certainly exciting to be here because of all the opportunities. What makes Gauteng special for you now that you see it from the eyes of a Premier in terms of really getting your hands dirty and working towards transforming this province of ours?
I would say that I think understanding that for more than a century, people have always gravitated to Johannesburg, to Pretoria, to Germiston, to Vanderbijlpark, to Vereeniging, from the different parts of the country as well as the different parts of the continent, simply because this place offers enormous opportunities for employment. In the 20th century, most of the jobs were in mining and then moved into manufacturing. A lot of people who came to work here in the cities, in the city of gold, in Tshwane, or in Ekurhuleni, from any part of the country or different parts of the continent, they saw this as the hub of opportunity in the continent. And understanding that is very important, that we have a very dynamic, more than a century-old problem in positive terms of migration. So people always move in and out of Gauteng. So when you understand that it is something that has driven, that has made this province what it is, the highways and skylines of our province were built by migrants. Migrants from different parts of South Africa, migrants from different parts of Africa came here to build our highways. That process hasn't stopped. In fact, since 1994, the number of people who move into Gauteng from the continent has increased, and the number of people who move from in migration from different parts of South Africa into Gauteng has increased. We now have in total about 250,000 people move into Gauteng every year. What are the implications of that? So when you are a leader here, you've got to understand that for infrastructure, whether it's education, public transport, or housing, or hospitals and clinics, for the impact on our planning is that the demand for everything is twice what it would be elsewhere. It's very, very challenging to, whatever you deliver here, you have to take into account that you have to plan for people who may or may not come from the different parts of the continent. So that puts lots of pressure on municipalities, on provincial government departments, because there's always one person more than the number that if you were expecting 2 people to arrive, there will be 3 people who arrive. So you plan for 2 people, but 3 people arrive in our schools, in our hospitals, for housing delivery. And so that's a big challenge. But it also, I say a problem in quotes, migration poses challenges, but it also brings opportunities. A lot of people who move to the cities are young people, many of them more educated than previous generations. So others who come to cities are more entrepreneurial than their forebears.
Premier, you painted the picture quite well in terms of Gauteng's position in South Africa, on the continent, and no doubt it is the most well-developed part of Africa, the biggest contributor to South Africa's national economy. But what is holding the province back when it comes to improving on its own growth in terms of where more investment should be taking place in infrastructure, in terms of developing entrepreneurs, etc.?
Well, I think in that context, I will say that so we've got the new economic development plan in Gauteng, which focuses on the key sectors of the economy. Yes, Gauteng contribute 35% to the national economy. That is something over the past 20 years we have grown our GDP contribution from 33% to 35%. With regard to GDP, there isn't much you can do. We will always be more or less 1/3 of South Africa's economy. But that's not what matters in my view. What matters is growing the sectors of the economy and looking at where that growth is going to come from. So in the South African context, we can intervene in various sectors, but we need to position the different sectors of Gauteng's economy onto the cameras must face the continent, if I were to use that. Once we do that, the opportunities are enormous. If we're only concentrating on growth that's driven by the just internally, there are limits to what you can do. If our national economy is growing at less than 2%, there isn't much that Gauteng can push. But if we start looking sector by sector like we are doing now, the automotive sector, Gauteng, 20 years ago, Gauteng, let's say 25 years ago to be precise, Gauteng was not producing any cars in any key way. We knew in South Africa, all the vehicles, motor vehicles were being manufactured or assembled in Port Elizabeth, East London, and Durban. Yeah. So we positioned the automotive sector at the dawn of our democracy, decided that because of Gauteng as a big market, and we are geographically more located in the inland, closer to the borders of Botswana, Zimbabwe, and Mozambique, that we can have a big advantage, and our industrial infrastructure, given the innovations and the skills, as an economic hub. So we took a decision at the dawn of democracy that we are going to build an automotive industry from scratch. And you know what the story is today. 42% of South Africa's cars are now produced in Gauteng. Yeah. So we're doing that now. Using that example, we are looking at how we can grow every sector, from employment to GDP contribution to revenue generation, output, from that standpoint of an African continent with 1 billion people as its market.
I want to talk about this very ambitious project for Ekurhuleni, the Aerotropolis, that's been touted as groundbreaking. Tell us more. How is this groundbreaking, and how much of traction has been gained in terms of how are we moving forward to realize that 30-year vision?
So the Aerotropolis fits into the broader Gauteng strategy. So we have we have different parts of our province have been designated for different sectors. We say that the north, which is Tshwane, the northern corridor, which is Tshwane, we say there they are our automotive hub. That's where Roslyn is, that's where the cars are being manufactured, but they are also an innovation and R&D hub. That's where the universities are located there. And an aviation hub. So if you look at the Waterkloof area, has got lots of companies that are in the defense and aerospace that link up with Ekurhuleni. They manufacture there, very exciting technological advanced manufacturing takes place there. So we say we will work with the city of Tshwane to build that type of an economy, to expand, to invest in infrastructure, to create an ecosystem that ensures that jobs can grow. So, and then for Johannesburg, we look at sectors like finance and fintech, finance and technology and pharmaceuticals.
Okay, so it's like developing economic nodes.
Yes, so those specialization of these sectors. So that's how the Aerotropolis comes. So we say for Ekurhuleni as a manufacturing hub. Remember, Ekurhuleni is the heart, is essentially the transport hub of sub-Saharan Africa. Not only is the airport, But even for generally logistics and public transport, it's located just in the midst of that. Whether you want to link up with Mozambique, or you want to link on the eastern side, or you link up into Botswana to Namibia, Ekurhuleni is that logistics hub of our continent in that way. So the Erythropolis derives, that concept arises from using the economics of airports to build a new economy around airports. So, and we have looked at how different cities in the world have developed just on the basis of modeling their economies and various sectors that are linked to the aviation hub.
So like midstream and downstream.
And yes, the midstream and downstream opportunities. We're also building on the history of manufacturing capacity. I have been visiting lots of businesses in Ekurhuleni at firm level. There are very exciting initiatives on advanced manufacturing, such as Dinel just next to OR Tambo. Those guys are building, they are in advanced manufacturing capacities, top class, it's world class. What they are doing there, training young people, bringing in new technology. They are building defense systems that are amongst the best in the world.
My name is Gareth Cliff and you're watching Joburg Today.
Like us on Facebook, joburgtoday.tv, and follow us on Twitter @JoburgToday. Electricity supply in Africa is in a very sorry state. In many countries on the continent, less than 20% of the population have access to electricity. The situation is much worse in rural areas where fewer than 5% are connected to the grid. But with an average of 325 days of bright sunlight every year, solar power remains one of Africa's most abundant but scarcely used resources. At a recently held power and electricity exhibition, the extent to which solar energy can be harnessed was presented by solution providers. The largest power and electricity exhibition on the continent drew thousands from across the globe, such as utility organizations, government representatives, end users, and solution providers.
Primarily with energy, it is a massive contributor to economic growth for any country, but especially for Africa. So I think the conference itself helps our event stand out, and essentially around that, the content that is being delivered. So being able to talk about the challenges that other countries are facing, but more so the solutions that both some of the utilities have found, our international keynotes have found, so they're able to address that with our audience, as well as the vendors and solution providers that are on offer. So everybody's got a unique approach to the challenges of our continent, and everybody, I think their main aim is to solve it and to electrify the continent.
Despite this event being a Pan-African event, the solution providers here are mainly global. The local African solution providers make up only around 15 to 20%. Synergy is a manufacturer and distributor of solar and LED lighting based in South Africa. The actual factory, though, is in China.
China has so many resources, especially hydro resources and coal resources, that we don't have the energetic gap that we have, for instance, in Africa. So the need for renewable comes by necessity many times. And in Africa, we believe that because we have the sun, it's obviously the first source of energy that we should develop.
So we've been in South Africa for the last 2 years. A lot of the demand, there's increasing demand now within the commercial space. We currently have a contract with the Western Cape, where we currently have a contract for 80 schools, where we're now solely moving them on to solar-powered schools, so no longer requiring any electricity. We've created a little model, and the model basically is to show you how versatile solar really is. From a simple home, we can light up homes to schools, estates, hospitals, office buildings, warehousing. So solar is versatile. We've also introduced the solar street lights. So you're now able to basically use solar technology on the streets. So if you look, the streets are all lit up using solar technology. There's no need for any electrical cables any longer, because you would use solar to basically light up the streets.
The water show is part of this year's exhibition, and the overriding theme is essentially finding solutions to conserving water, especially given that South Africa has still not come out of a drought. Even though we've been having plenty of rain in Johannesburg, the dams in Cape Town are still below 30%. Now here is a product offering a solution to the water crisis.
The toilet itself is inspired by nature, coming from the arum lily, which is very beautiful. So the shape on itself is a vortex shape. So when you flush down the water, it spins down and allowing a velocity as the water goes down, allowing the pan to be cleaned. But it also has another element to it, which is the gush flush, taking the air. The air is actually the one that helps the debris to go out of the pan. So we are saving quite a lot of water with regards to the toilet. What I mean by that is a conventional toilet would use 6 up to 9 liters of water, but what we are saying is you get to save that water by actually flushing down 2 liters of water, to which that is more like a third of what you currently use.
Mashina Mohammed for Joburg Today.
Hi, I'm Sophie Ndaba, and you are watching Joburg Today.
And that brings us to the end of the show. But for more coverage on the city, do check out our playlist. And that's it from me, Noshina. Thank you for watching and have a great week.